it makes you stronger. It definitely makes us stronger. Yes. So
Definitely.
thanks, Julie, for joining us. This is great because you really in fact, a friend of mine moved to Kelowna, Alberta, and he says, "Yeah, I know Julie. Like it's she dominates there. She's very well known."
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Who's that?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter
No,
who.
you
Just
know, oh, we got to
he
figure
showed
out that.
he moved to that location for his wife, and all of a sudden, because he was doing stuff in Ontario, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden I said, "Where'd you move?" And he says, "Oh yeah, Julie. Yeah, oh for sure. She's like she dominates that market."
Wow.
He that's the
Now
word
I'm
he used.
nervous. Now I'm
Dominate.
really nervous, Renee.
He dominates like dominate. I was like, really? Okay, got it. So for those who may not know you, like, please introduce yourself.
Okay, awesome. So I'm Julie Hoffman, and I am also I coach people under the brand Street Smart Diva. I am the founder of the Okanagan Real Estate Investment Group, or
Oh,
OREG. I wear a lot of hats. I've got 5 kids, and
oh
I'm
wow,
married.
nice.
Yeah, I've got 5 kids between the age of right now 16 and 22.
Whoa,
And I'm married to a great guy. His name's Jeff. And we work together as a team in real estate and in business. And why don't I talk about how it all came to be? I'll
yeah,
try
yeah,
not
sure, yeah. Tell us your story because it's
Okay.
always good to know how people got started, and it's always
Yeah.
interesting because
Well,
some
I think
people
my story.
they see you like right now, it's like nice, polished, all successful, and then there are people going, you know what, that's like they'll always give a reason why you got there. Like, oh, well, that was easy. Maybe they got that. But overall, we all kind of worked our way. We all started with basically nothing, and we had to move towards it. So, please divulge your story of challenge.
Sure, sure. And a lot of it wasn't challenged. I'll say that. A lot of it was like easy and so prosperous and successful. And before we got on today, you and I were talking about how um there's some challenge going on, especially more kind of within your closer network.
Mhm.
And I've been through challenge, and it's always going to be a thing.
Yeah,
Like
never
right
goes out of
now,
fashion.
right now, the challenge in Alberta is to get a deal because the market is so fast and
Yeah.
everything is so affordable.
Yeah. And people from Ontario are leaving. Some of them are going to Alberta, going, this is a great market. We love it. There's no tenant landlord tenant board issues as much. The vacancy rates are reasonably fine.
Yes, and it's very affordable. So people are moving to Alberta
Mhm.
for affordability. Uh, Not just investors, just people. Like 70, I live in BC. I live in the Okanagan region. I live
Yep.
in West Kelowna, um, which is just across the
Let's close
lake
to the yes.
from
So I
Kelowna.
thought, yeah, Kelowna's in BC, not Alberta. So yeah, I knew that.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
For people in Ontario, it's all west. It's
It's
all
it,
west. Yeah.
it's the Wild West. It's the Wild West. So in BC, in the year 2023, 70,000 people moved out of BC,
Wow. And now
and
they're
most of
moving
them
back
went
in.
to it. What's
They're
that?
moving back in now.
Um, I actually, it frustrates me when I don't have statistics because I really like them. Um, I don't know how many came. I think we have a net positive still in population, but that's still a lot of people to leave the province, and most of
Mhm.
them are leaving for affordability.
Okay.
So, so just an example, you would think that struggle in a fast market would kind of be like, well, that's not so bad, but it can be a real struggle for people just to get in the door,
Yeah,
you
there's
know?
some
It's
nice
because
deals
you have
popping up.
a yeah, you have a lot of veterans that are just able to buy a property sight unseen with their eyes closed and one hand tied behind their back, and that's who you're competing with if you're just starting out.
That could be very
So
challenging.
yeah,
So 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 for, so for the when you coach people, how you tell them you need to see like 50 places before you buy something? Is that what you tell people? Or you tell them like grab a vision of what you're looking to purchase, and then when the numbers are straight, like what do you tell them?
I tell them uh, to look at as many properties as possible and to identify what my friend Brendan Skelton Douglas, who's amazing. We've created some really cool courses together, and he's in Edmonton. He calls it a farm territory, because that's where you
Hmm.
want to harvest, right? So discover
Okay.
your farm territory. So maybe it's a neighborhood, maybe it's a region, maybe it's a small town, because what happens is in neighborhoods, developers have gone in either a long time ago or fairly recently, and they've
Mm.
built similar types of properties. So like they've built splits, they've built bungalows, they've
Hmm.
built two stories, and a lot of these properties have the same characteristics, same age, or they're very similar,
Yeah.
right? So even being able to go into a neighborhood of 150, 200 houses, if you are able to look at all the properties that you can in that, even just that neighborhood, you're going to get a good idea of what something is worth. And if you know how to calculate like cash flow and understand mortgages, and you do that over and over again, then you can get an idea of whether or not a deal makes sense. Essentially, it can
Hmm.
make you an expert. And so in my opinion, the more properties you look at, the smarter you're going to become. And it doesn't cost anything. In fact, I want to give all of your people my deal analyzer. It comes with a
Okay.
video tutorial, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's great. It's just a great little tool to use to become an expert at whatever kind of property you're looking for. I call
Hmm.
it the avatar. Um, and yeah, like you want to find your farm, you want to find your farm area, you want to target an area, because if you're looking like, let's use Ontario
Yep.
as an example. You can look in Toronto. Well, Toronto's going to have, even a small neighborhood in Toronto is going to have way different features
Vastly different.
in the
Vastly different.
southeast as a neighborhood in the northwest, right?
Even in small towns, just crossing a couple streets north, it's like, oh, that's a bad area. This is the good area. It's so
100%.
subtle. You need to know. And if you don't know, you don't know. But when you know, it's very powerful.
And what's the best way to know is to do research. And yes, it's going to take time,
Yeah.
but the time's going to pass anyway. You might as well become an expert at real estate investing, because it's the single best way to create wealth. It is.
It is. It definitely is for sure.
So that's what I tell people very often. And I mean, I'm going to kind of brag, if you don't mind, for a
No, no,
minute.
go for it.
I had this great lady, Carol,
Yep.
from Ottawa,
Okay.
and she just started with me. And she listened to like the first session of one of my online courses. And it was just about changing how you talk to people.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So this story is so great because I'm not joking. Okay, here's what happened. She's listening and she's listening and she's learning, and she's like, okay, I'm going to change the way I talk. I'm going
Talk,
to change
you mean talk to people or
the
talk to
way we talk to
herself?
people. So like instead of news, weather, sports,
Yes.
bring up real estate.
Yes.
Find a way. Anybody listening to this course, anybody listening to this podcast can now say, oh, I was just listening to this great podcast with these real estate investors.
It opens
Instead
up the
of,
conversation
yeah,
completely.
change color. It doesn't have to be some pushy, hey, you want to buy a house with me? Like in your
No,
face.
no,
You want
no,
to be my
no.
joint venture
Yeah,
partner? Do
yeah.
you have $200,000? Can you qualify for financing? Like that's going to turn a few people off. What you can say is, I just listened to this real estate podcast. It was so good. And um, you can say that instead of, hey, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I watched the Bronco game and the Falcons game and the Leafs game,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
they did turn it. Instead of news, weather, sports, to say, oh, I listened to this podcast, or I attended this training, or I went for coffee with this big real estate developer. Like just change the way you talk. So back to Carol. Here's
Yep.
Carol, super shy. She's sat in all these seminars, and she's gone to all these group online meetings, and she's just like, okay, I'm ready. So she calls me, and she'd seen me on something like this, and she's like, all right. So we started together. She started with that. I'm going to change the way I talk. Her daughter comes in the next day for coffee, 1 o'clock after lunch, same time every week. It's their standing date.
Okay.
And she says, hey, Mom, how's it going? How was your week? And she takes a deep breath and she says, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I just started coaching with a real estate investment coach.
Yeah.
And and so then her daughter says, Mom, Aaron, that's her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Aaron and I just went to see his auntie's house. She's putting it up for sale.
Okay.
And we just wish we could buy it. And she's afraid of realtors. She hates realtors. Last realtor that came in to analyze her house said, you're going to have to change out the paint and the carpet, and you're going to have to the kitchen. It's only going to cost you about $120,000, right?
Yeah.
This lady, her aunt, her boyfriend's aunt already knew where she was going. She had a place picked out and a down payment put down. She needed to sell her house, right?
Mm.
So Carol's like, what do I do? Right.
So that just that little conversation, that question, the just the event of talking about real estate, all of a sudden it opens up an opportunity, and she's like, now what? And she goes back to you, and then what do you say? What do you yell at her?
Okay, so here's what's important. She knows her neighborhood. It's in her neighborhood.
Oh,
She knows her
wow.
neighborhood. It's a wonderful, praise God, coincidence.
Yeah,
Right? Well,
yes.
there's no such
Yes.
thing as a coincidence, if you ask me. But anyway,
I definitely agree. I definitely, yes.
yeah. So they talk, they meet. The lady says, I'll give you $40,000 off because you're saving me a ton of money by not listing
Whoa.
with the realtor. And I know you want it, and I don't need that much because I know exactly where I'm going, and I know exactly how much it's going to cost me. She just offered it.
Wow. So this is a single family dwelling, I
We're
imagine.
talking a nice, good bones, single family house in a great area of Ottawa. I don't know the exact
Yep.
neighborhood,
Okay.
but good, solid 1982 built house with good bones, but yellow carpeting and
Yeah.
probably green appliances.
Yeah.
But her daughter and her boyfriend were just like, we don't care. So Carol buys the house.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of
Yeah.
kind of exciting things, and she was scared to death. And it was good that
It's good to have guidance,
worked
good to have
together.
support for sure along the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, it was good. It was really good for her. It was, of course, good for me. Like, this is so fun. And so she buys it, and her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend are not ready to buy a house.
Okay.
But now they've got 5 years because she creates a lease option. She
Oh.
said, okay, kids, this is your target. So
That's
they're
amazing. So the
they're on their
kids, I
way.
imagine, were fairly young. I mean,
Yes.
they weren't quite ready to jump in, but they need to live somewhere. So the mother helped out.
Mother helped out. Mom and dad bought the house.
That's cool.
5% down because the kids moved in. Like, it's kind of a unique situation. Not everybody
Nice.
can do that. I'm going to
Yeah,
say that
yeah.
right now. That said, there's so many people who say, I'm so worried about my kids
Yes.
because they're not going to be able to own a home.
Yes.
Well, if you're like me and you've got adult children, you can buy a house with your child for 5% down. It's the CMHC
That's pretty
allowance.
cool. Yeah, and it gets them started. At least, it's the help just to get them started, especially if they're 2021. Imagine, by the time they're in 20 years or so, they're 40, young 40, and potentially the house is paid for, or they've got other deals. But it's great to be, you get involved early on. That's amazing.
Yeah, so these kids, they're not kids, they're like in their late 20s, both of
Okay.
these people. So they're out of college, they've
Yep.
just started their jobs, but prices are going up, and they're just
Yeah.
like, we're just never going to be able to do this. So these kids go in, they give her something,
Hmm.
they give her something, and Carol and her husband are socking some away for them to prepare for a down
Okay.
payment. They can house hack. I don't know if they did, but it'd be a smart
Yeah.
thing to do. It's a 4 bedroom. You fill the 3 other bedrooms and
A bit of sweat equity in there,
yeah,
fixing it up, making it themselves. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, especially if you don't have money, well, then you've got the time and energy to fix it up. That's how I started off.
Yeah, same. We
That's a
started
great
in a
success story.
trailer. We
That's a
started in a trailer on Glen Park Road
oh yeah.
in
Hey.
Leduc County, Alberta. That's where we
Oh
started.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting. No, I just started off. It was like 100% financing completely. I don't know. The numbers were tweaked or something. I'm not too sure. We just got loan after loan. And I'm like, okay, now I work for the bank. It felt like I was just had to
Yeah.
pay everything off. And I just rent hacked before rent hacking was a thing. I just rented everybody upstairs. I lived in the living room and I was completely fine. I was happy, very happy with that. Very happy.
You're the OG. You're the OG house hacker, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just knew that I wasn't gonna be able, I was gonna be house poor if I lived in this 3 bedroom house alone. It didn't make any sense. So I just
Yeah,
rented every to students basically because it
yeah,
wasn't
that's
too
the
far from
same.
university.
We just had a reg event with this amazing mortgage broker. You might know him, Craig Von Dolder.
Yep.
You know him?
No.
Okay, well, that's okay. Well, you're both from Ontario, so I'm really surprised you don't know each other. It's like when
Yeah, we're all
people
neighbors
say
in Ontario. We're all very friendly. We just,
we're all
it's such a small province.
yeah. So Craig, same thing. He bought a house. He lived in his closet for 5 years,
Yeah.
and he made cash flow,
Yeah.
and his roommates paid his mortgage down.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. It's just you got to be creative with it. There's a bit of struggle in the beginning. You got to allow that struggle. The idea that I was just going to buy a place and be fine and it was just going to just work itself out. No, I wanted to make it work. But that's my story. I want to hear your story about. So you mentioned about a bit of struggle. Like right now, the times feels like overall the economy's like come to a halt. Like
Right.
things are people are struggling. There's some really bad stories we've heard. We're not going to go into all the details of that,
Mhm.
but it seems as if we're not necessarily in a productive or prosperous society as it used to be even 2 3 years ago. It seems as if we
Yeah.
maybe it was an illusion, but now we're really feeling it, and it seems as if we're not getting out of this anytime soon. It's going to take a while.
Could be. Could be. Now, maybe this makes it okay. Why don't I'll try to make my story short. It's
It's
kind of long, but
inspirational.
I'll try to add learns along the way. Okay.
Of
I'll
course,
do my
because
best.
every story needs to have lessons in there, and that's the way we grow and be
Yeah.
better.
And if you uh, once you hear the story, you'll probably feel better, whoever's listening to this, about where you're at, because it's really bad.
Okay,
And
so this is a personal
if
story.
yeah, if we
Okay,
can get through what we did, I always say this, if we can get through what we
yep,
did, anybody can. I
yep.
truly believe that. Okay.
Okay,
So we started investing in 2001. I didn't have credit because I'm originally from the United States.
okay.
I met my husband in Mexico, and I tell people he won me a drinking competition. It's not true. It's just funny to say.
Well,
And
hold on. I got a good question. Where in the States? You're originally
I'm
from the
from
States?
Denver, Colorado.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Born and raised in Denver, Colorado.
Born and raised in Denver, Colorado, went to university in the state of Nebraska at a school called Creighton, and I became a physical therapist, which
Neat.
is a great career.
Yeah.
Okay. And my husband and I met in Mexico, fell in love. We're one of those rare stories where long distance worked.
Yeah.
And we got married after I graduated, and I'd always been taught. So this is important, folks. I'd always been taught, go to school, get a good
Yep.
education, get a good job.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
exactly what I did. Now I have a little bit of an unfair advantage, and I talk about this a lot. So
Okay.
some people are like, I heard her say this before. It doesn't matter. I was raised by an entrepreneur. My
Okay.
dad is a
Yes.
real estate investor.
Nice.
And so he was always available when I was growing up. He had great time freedom.
Hmm.
So he would come and help me at school. He'd pick me up. He'd pick me up from outdoor lab when I was gone for a week. And it's a memory that I will never forget. I will always treasure. I remember being a little kid just running into his arms, and I've gotten kind of emotional.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful to hear.
And because he said he didn't have a boss, you know? And so he picked me up from outdoor lab, and I missed him so much. And so he showed me that. He doesn't know it. He showed me that. My mom and dad wanted me to go to school, get an education, and get a job. My mom actually really wanted me to get an MRS degree.
What's MRS?
Where, so my school has a dental school and a medical school. So she really wanted me to
Oh,
meet a dentist or a doctor
okay. Yeah.
and get married, become an MRS. So that didn't happen. I married a guy from a little town in Alberta, Canada. And he's amazing. He is the greatest guy. Um, it, it was concerning for my mom a little bit. Uh, anyway, so I'm like,
That's
but
funny. I'd like
those,
to. My sister married an American, but she went over there. She went to Pittsburgh, and
yeah,
that's
okay.
usually the way it works. You
That
marry the husband, and then you marry the country as well.
you go to yeah, that's what happened for me. And because I was a physio, I could work in Canada easily because of NAFTA.
Okay.
So he like got me a job. I got hired from this clinic.
Neat.
They never met me. They're like, we like you. We like you, Jeff. You make her sound great. She must be great. Yeah, we'll hire her. I mean,
Sounds like
that's
a
how
great
easy.
salesperson. Yeah, that's
That's
awesome.
my husband. He's the world's greatest salesperson. So anyway, we start I'm working as a physio, just doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yep.
Plus I went to university for like 10 years, equivalent of 10 years, because I have a doctorate in physical therapy.
And it was also valued in Canada. Like they didn't
Oh, so,
often
yeah,
when you immigrate, people immigrate here, whatever their degree is, often is not recognized. But with you, it was okay.
it was great. It was
Good, good,
NAFTA. NAFTA,
nice,
they accepted nurses.
nice.
It was Mexico.
Oh,
It was like Mexico, US, and Canada.
okay.
Yeah, so it was easy for people to cross borders and have something and have a career and not have to
Okay.
go through. I got a permanent residency, but I became a Canadian citizen too in
Congratulations.
2007. I'm very proud of that, and I'm still a U.S. citizen. I'm also very proud of that.
Cool.
And anyway, so that is I'm working. And he's this, he's already demonstrated he's this amazing salesman. And he owned a home hardware at the time,
Okay.
which is a family owned third generation. So he goes to a real estate investment seminar with the Rain Group, REIN,
Yes.
probably heard
Yes.
of Rain.
Yes.
And he meets Arlen Dolan. I don't know if
Uh,
you know who Arlen is.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
People in
he's,
Ontario adore Arlen. Yeah, he's great. I've got his book, which was
oh,
written by Quinton or
yeah,
compiled
D'Souza.
together. Yeah, compiled
Yeah.
together. Yeah, really good book.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, so cool. That is, and it changed our life. Arlen said to my husband, my husband's like, oh, it's $200 a month to be a RAIN member. It's a lot.
Mhm.
Arlen said, buy one house, make sure it cash flows $200 a month, and
Makes sense.
there's your, uh, there's your payment. And
That's
my,
awesome.
my husband said, yeah, I guess that makes sense, right? So so I mentioned that I have an unfair advantage being raised by a real estate investor because when my husband called me, and this does not happen for every couple,
Hmm.
okay, and
Hmm.
I know this, when he called me, he said, we need to invest in real estate. And I was 6 months pregnant with my first child at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Bring it
probably
on.
that sounds like a good idea. And I'm telling you, I've spoken to so many people that one spouse is not on
Yeah.
side. I can say with confidence, no amount of real estate is worth a marriage. Okay. That said, I think that I encourage spouses to learn as much as they can when they're hesitant. And I also encourage spouses to believe in each other, like what Arlen always says is don't kink the hose. And that's where, you don't want to sabatage your
He's got great
spouse.
expressions. I love his
This is
expressions.
great. I know he has all these zingers.
Very
They're
creative. Like, where do
hilarious.
you pick this up?
I know. Well, he's a redneck. And he's the first to say that. And it's just so important to believe in your spouse.
Yeah.
And so you fast forward, we went through some pretty tough challenges. I'll talk about them in a minute.
Okay.
And when you can do both, like it creates a really strong bond, because you will have struggles. Like
Mhm.
you will likely have, you'll likely have struggles with something.
Of
And
course.
fire strengthens steel,
Ooh, yes.
and that can create a really valuable bond in a marriage. I've seen entrepreneurial type things, including real estate investment, destroy marriages, and
Mhm.
I hate to see that happen.
Yeah.
I
It
really do.
seems to be the deal. It's like the deal of the universe is if you want to grow mentally, financially, emotionally, you've got to
Yeah,
be uncomfortable. It's like it
yeah.
goes, you cannot have growth without discomfort. It's just
No,
part of the deal. And it's
and
how much discomfort. That's
yeah,
where it gets challenging. But I feel if people have a vision or an ideal in mind, and they can go beyond those struggles or those obstacles and keep in mind of the vision, it hopefully helps. But yeah, there is always struggle along the way.
yeah. And sometimes you just have to have faith in your
Yes,
faith, period,
yes,
and
yes.
have
Faith is
faith in your spouse, believe in your spouse,
yeah.
because I've especially found with my husband, I got to believe in him. Uh, Men in particular
Yep.
really want to know that their wives believe in them.
Very important. Yes.
Yeah,
And that they
it's
have
a
their
man
back.
thing.
That
What's that?
each other have
Yeah,
their back.
have each
You know,
other's
they're,
back.
they're
Yeah,
protecting each other, and I'm sure with my own wife, I think she has good intentions with me, and I have good intentions with her as
yeah.
well. So very
So
important.
she's not kinking the hose,
No,
right?
no, no, she's wonderful. She's so supportive. I
Yeah,
get sick, she'll get sick as well. That's how supportive she is.
that is really
Very
that's a
supportive.
nice
Yeah, that
lady.
is very
Yeah,
supportive. Yeah,
you got to keep her there, Renee.
she's a keeper. Yeah.
Okay, so we get married. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So by the time I was ready to have a baby, we had bought 3 properties.
Neat.
Yeah, and and at the time I'm thinking to myself, great, we have 3 properties. I'm gonna have a baby. I'm not even gonna, I'm gonna have a baby. I'm going to go back to work because I went to school forever,
Of
right?
course, of course.
And what would my parents think, right? Because I was still in my 20s, and when you're in your 20s, you kind of still care, you don't want to get grounded or anything
You
like
got
that.
an image of who you uphold, thanks to your entourage, of course. And you went to school
Right.
for 10 years. That's a long time.
It's a long time. So I went, so then everything changed, just completely. My life turned upside down when I gave birth to my first child. Her
Okay.
name's Cassie, and she is 22 years old now. And I took one look at her, and I knew I never wanted to have to be away from her. And I knew instantly.
That is
Like,
beautiful.
it's like, okay, I love you, child, first of all. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I never want to be around. I never want to not be
Yes.
around
Yes.
you if I can help it. That second thought, third thought, seriously, I got to buy more real estate.
That's hilarious because just today, as we're recording, my wife's twin sister is giving birth. And I
What?
just before we start talking, I received first pictures of the child just today, just like an hour, but less than an hour ago. Beautiful picture of the little girl just beaming, just born today. So very exciting. And the
Did they
mother,
name her Julie?
no, the
Now that.
name, that'd be funny. That would be a coincidence. Yeah, that'd be great. I don't know. Right now, they're hovering on a few names. They haven't really chosen. She said, wait till I hold her, then I'll know. I'm like, that's beautiful. Like, just let me know. It's that's
Oh
what
my
it
gosh.
is.
Tell her congratulations.
Yes.
So happy.
We'll
Babies.
hold back the tears for them, but that is beautiful. Yes, giving birth is an amazing experience.
Yeah, every person falls in love with their child.
Yes.
This is not news. And I'm so lucky that I was raised by a real estate investor, because I knew I could buy more. I just didn't. I was like, I know I can buy more. And see, Jeff, my husband, um, owned a home hardware, and you may or may not know, for American friends, I bet some American people
Yep.
watch this. It's like owning an Ace Hardware. It's a big brand, and it is the type of business that is 24/7. He
Yeah.
worked 100 hours a week.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just kind of did a lot of the legwork because I had more time. And so, might as well bring this up too, because people start where they start, and most people are starting and they have jobs and they
Yep.
are trying to they want to replace their income with real estate. And there are ways to do that. I'm not, long-term rentals, probably not.
Hmm.
Probably not, unless you have like 100 that are cash flowing really, really well, and you're basically creating a job for yourself
Of course.
in that case. But that's a lot of properties to own, and yes, it might make you financially free. Uh, my own experience, like, it's good to have a job while you're doing this, because unless you create something that yeah
It's a side
replaces your
hustle. You got in a way, yeah, it's like having two jobs or two, you got to do a side hustle in a way.
it's
And it's all part of it.
Yeah, it's the most valuable side hustle, if you ask me, for
Yes.
sure. I do know plenty of people. Arland has a whole story about how he was able to go full time real estate. I know that I did, and
So how did
but
you do the leap?
my husband had a job. Like,
Yeah.
I did the real estate, and he had our safety net. He really did.
So how did you do the
Um,
leap? I mean, because a lot of people, I just went to an event on the weekend, your life, your terms, and a lot of people are there and they all want to, quit their jobs. They want to just do real estate full time. So what would you suggest to these people? Because
oh,
it seems like it's a common thought there.
the best way, in my opinion, and in my experience,
Yep.
to quit your job, you need to learn wholesaling.
Interest. Yes. Yes.
It's a way to create another income stream that is probably strong enough to replace your income, whether you make 5,000 a month or 10,000 a month or 15,000 a month. Because if you do enough wholesale deals, you have to do a lot if you're
Yeah.
making 15 and you want to replace that. Um, Plenty of people everywhere do a lot of wholesale deals.
I suggested this to somebody because he was in a situation. I said, "Listen, I got a story. This particular individual. I mean, this doesn't always happen, but we're talking over like 150 to 200,000 in wholesale. One deal. It's rare.
That, that's rare,
Uh,
but that's the odd home run. It happens.
yeah, it happens. And he had been working on it for over a year while doing his job,
Yep,
and it worked out. But there are deals like that out there.
there are. And, like, would it be tacky to mention that I actually have a wholesaling course?
Not at all.
Okay,
I know this is the
good.
perfect time. Just throw it right in there.
I don't want to be some greasy, everybody feels like they have to take a shower after they watch this.
Oh,
That
well,
said, wholesaling, we basically bought buildings. I may not get to the whole story. We're jumping around. It's
yep.
fine, right,
Yeah,
Renee?
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
It's
there's order. There's order and chaos as well. It's all part of it.
that's right. When I was wholesaling buildings, I would buy a building and then
Yep.
we would sell it off for profit of 30,000 a door, and the building would sell all 30 all 30 doors would sell in less than a month.
Awesome.
That is an example of how profitable wholesaling can
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
Now, that was during the biggest boom real estate time in Alberta in recent history, which is between 2006 and 2005 and 2007,
Okay.
maybe even started in 4. We were right in there and making big money. And we were essentially wholesaling deals. Now, I am not suggesting anybody go and try to wholesale an apartment building.
Yep.
Not when you start, okay? But you could find an incredible single family home from a motivated seller,
Yeah.
get it under contract,
Yep.
and assign it to somebody for profit.
And it's
And
amazing. And a lot of people think that we're taking, you're taking advantage of the individual, but in the wholesale deals that I've been involved in, and I've bought a few,
yeah,
um, they're grateful. They're like, oh, this is great. I'm this was a problem. They wanted out of it, and it didn't matter on the price of it. it was the term that they were interested in, and just letting go of it. And in one particular case, it was toxic to be in the house. Like it was literally, it stunk so bad, and the garbage everywhere.
Yeah.
She just had to let it go. Just walk away.
So, Renee, exactly. I don't want to take, I don't want anybody taking advantage of anyone. I want
No.
people to help people.
Yes. Yes.
And so what's challenging for some of these, I call them motivated sellers because that's who I want people to focus on.
Yeah.
Somebody that has a hoarder house or they
Yeah.
inherited it from a family member and it's not in great condition. Sometimes that's the case. And what's great about that is what you're going to do then is you're going to find somebody that loves to renovate. And then like
Mhm.
those renovator guys, those flipper guys, they're
They love
like
them. They love
they're
those.
special and they're a unique bird,
Yeah.
but they love it and they know it and they walk into a hoarder house and what they say is things like, "Oh, I smell money." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
I've heard that.
that's their jam.
Yeah.
But let them take all the risk. Let them get the financing in place. Let
Mm.
them raise the money so that they can do all of the renovations to make it more valuable. Tim Johnson, like one of my original outside of Arlen, Tim Johnson led the real estate investment network. Leave some meat on the bone for the next guy. You
Yes.
know? So, and these renovator guys, they're busy renovating these flippers. So they don't have time to find all these deals. And so going back to the way I started, I was lucky to I spent my lunch hours calling sellers.
Hmm.
I spent my weekends driving around with a realtor. Or looking in the newspaper and making phone calls. That is what I did for months and months and months and months. And that's how I found deals. And anybody can do that. But you're going to have to change what you're spending your time doing. And
Yes.
also keep in mind, you can look at 10 times what I looked at because I literally had to get my little pregnant self. I wasn't that little, actually. I gained like 80 pounds my first pregnancy. That's another story. I had to stuff myself, let's say I stuffed myself into a car and drive an hour to Edmonton to look at one house
Wow.
because of the internet,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
You can look at as many houses as you want in any area. Um, you can be in Edmonton and looking at properties in Kansas City, Missouri,
Hmm.
and connect with a wholesaler or a flipper in Missouri and find that person deals. Again, you get it under contract, you find the right deal, you got to make sure the numbers make sense,
Of course.
which is why we created this training because like you can do it
That
and
is
it's
so
no risk.
valuable
It's like
training. It
it's
comes
so
back to also what you were talking about, just having the dialogue, having the right way of speaking.
yes.
And it's just asking the right questions. So what do you in the course? I'm very curious to know what do you tell people to tell these motivated buyers, sellers, to get them,
Yeah.
to get them to see, okay, they're motivated. How motivated are they? Are they really motivated? Or are they really, really motivated? So
Okay. I'm so glad you asked me this.
yeah.
When you talk to a motivated seller, they will answer every question. They will tell you their life story. They will move mountains to
Yeah.
find out the information on the financing on the house, if there's added debt, if you owe taxes, if they need to sell, okay? They will talk your ear off. So you've got to like either record the conversation or you've got to have
Write it
plenty of
down.
ink in
Yeah.
your pen. All right? So I'll give you an example of a recent motivated seller that I had. Okay, one of our most recent deals. We had a lady, she was moving up to no, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you an example of something we
We love
recently did in
stories. We
Edmonton.
really
Yeah.
love stories.
So this lady in Edmonton in a
Okay.
great house in a great area. Oh, I can't remember the name of the area, but I really wanted to buy this house. We didn't end up getting it.
Okay.
That said, she was moving. She still had financing in place. She didn't want to break her mortgage because it had a massive prepayment
Yeah.
penalty. She told me everything about the house. Oh, this needs to be done and that needs to be done. And I've talked to realtors, but I don't have the money to renovate this house. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the lady that I told you about when Carol just changed the way she talked. It's like that. But she's like, I'm moving to Vancouver. I'm tired of Alberta winters. I'm tired of it.
It's not bad.
Um, she's just like, I got to get out of here. And I really don't want to rent this house. So what we did, and it was, I'm just being transparent because not every wholesale goes through. What we did is we got it all under contract and we put it out there to find people to buy it. And it was a guy I was working with. His name's Hoffman. I'm in Kelowna. He's in Surrey. He finds this deal in Edmonton, gets it all under contract, and we tried to find a buyer and nobody wanted it. Now, Hoffman was out time. It took a lot of time. We had several meetings. It was a steep learning curve for him,
Yeah.
but he did it. And it didn't cost him anything other than the investment that's in the course, which is like less than $2,000. Like
That's
it's
reasonable. You
reasonable.
make
It's
that from just
reasonable.
that one deal.
Yeah, for one deal. Okay, I just posted about Solomon. I'm going to tell you about Solomon. So anyway, he found it and it could have turned into something, but he didn't put $10,000 down. He didn't have to qualify for financing. He just worked on trying to solve a problem,
Yeah.
okay, for this person. And she gave us every bit of information, all of her mortgage information, her tax
That's
information,
amazing.
everything about the house. She gave us video tours. I just wish I could remember the area because it was such a great area. I don't know. There's these little pockets of Edmonton that are so cool. It was like across the street from an outdoor pool in an
Okay.
older area. And I was just like, oh, I want this house for somebody, right? Anyway, Solomon. Let's talk about Solomon. Solomon did take our training
Yep.
and he found a house in Edmonton and it was a great deal and he made like $5,000. He got the deal under contract. It was just a house in rough shape, but in a decent area. And he found it from, I think it was a flyer. He handed out flyers in neighborhoods and somebody called on the flyer. And so he followed the script, which is, oh, you have a house for sale. How much do you think it's worth? When do you need to move?
Yep.
Can you tell me about the condition? And they will tell you everything. Okay. So that's like the key takeaway is
It's a good sign. It's like a green flag once they cooperate so well and they're open to tell you everything about it, even the mortgage.
they are 1 foot out the door because you are
Mm,
going to solve their problem. And
yeah.
then, so Solomon gets it under contract and he like calls Brendan and created this course with Brendan Skilton Douglas, who's a major wholesaler in
Yeah.
Edmonton. And he's like, what do I do now? And it's like, okay, calm down, relax. And Brendan found him a buyer.
That
He
awesome.
connected him with a flipper.
Yeah.
And he just made an introduction. He's not a realtor, of course. He's
Yep.
just like, hey, you flip houses. Solomon has a deal. Do you want to buy this deal? Solomon made 500 and change. I actually just posted on Facebook. Today's October 8th, if you want to go
Yeah.
look it up. And he's still wholesaling.
That's awesome.
So
It's
you
a
could,
side gig as well. Like,
oh, it could be we have a student that's a physical therapist, coincidentally, in Edmonton, and it's a side hustle for him. And he's
neat.
great at it. He's like
Neat.
so good at it. I think his name is Paul. Paul. It's terrible that I don't remember his name. Regardless, I'm telling you, I just love
So,
it because
so
you
at the end
learn
of this
about
course,
deals, you learn how to
yep.
structure things, you learn how to you learn all of the ins and outs and you don't take the risk of
Yeah.
actually buying a house. Now, here's what's going to happen though. You're going to be a wholesaler for a while and maybe you'll replace your income. Maybe you won't. Maybe you just have this great side gig that's an additional income stream and you keep your income because it's a benefit to have an income because then here's what's going to happen. You're going to find this fantastic deal and you're not going to want to wholesale it. You're going
You're
to
gonna
want to buy
just move in. You just gonna want to move in or turn it into
or
investment.
you're going to say, oh, this deal's great because there are we had a wholesale deal in Beaumont. The house was in great shape. The guys, Beaumont, Alberta. Sorry, I talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
Alberta
that's
a lot.
okay. Yeah.
We did 300 deals in Alberta. Oh my gosh, I hope I'm not. Okay, but this is the story, and this happens over and there's always a motivated seller out there. Okay, these like to a completely different province. The other guy was living in camp 95% of the time up in Fort McMurray on the oil field. He's like, I do not need this house.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was in beautiful condition, built in like the late 90s. So it had upgraded plumbing, you know, that you don't have to worry about PVC pipe anymore. And the siding was in good shape. It had a nice big yard. It was in great shape.
There's also talking about motivated sellers,
Yeah.
people who go through divorce. Seems like there's a
Oh,
lot of that as
yeah,
well. I've encountered that, and they just want out,
yeah,
and they don't really, it's not that they don't care, but they need to move fast
yeah.
often.
And people downsize, people
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
upsize.
So
Uh,
what's the population? What percentage of sellers are motivated? Are we talking
oh, I would
5%,
say
10%? Like,
very low. Yeah,
yeah, it's very low
very low. Yeah, maybe 5%, maybe 2%. It ebbs and flows,
for
right?
sure.
With the times.
I was
I'd
told
say there,
once the interest rate, if the interest rate is high, that's the default rate as well.
yeah, 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 exactly. Um, and here's the thing, somebody may not be a motivated seller today, but they
Uh,
might be a motivated seller in 2 months.
yes,
And
yes.
that's another great reason to, first of all, know how to do it. But secondly, to change how you talk to people.
Yeah,
Because if now you're just like, yeah, every time I talk to Julie, she brings up real estate. And okay, like now there's an art to it, folks. Okay. You bring it up and you let it sit out there. You don't like push, hey, are you interested?
yeah,
You just bring it up because now there's a seed in their mind. Julie invests in real estate. Renee invests in real estate.
yeah,
And you just never know. A couple months from now, they could be talking to their neighbor at a barbecue. Yeah, Susie and I have to move. I got transferred to Texas.
yeah,
We don't know what we're going to do with the house. Oh, I just talked to my coworker Renee. Maybe he can help you out. I
yeah.
mean, you
Just
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 never
just
know.
being known as a buyer of anything, it things come out. And
Yeah,
those were, I've had great opportunities in those positions. Just
yeah,
things that you walk into and there's no kitchen, nothing's finished.
yeah,
It was a burnt, one particular one was a burnt down. They were fixing it up and they ran out of money. And so the
yeah.
drywall wasn't finished up and they couldn't put it on the market. So they just had to sell it, and they're just getting rid of it. So there are deals out there. It's just you got to hustle in a way. You got to work towards it, and you got to have those conversations.
And it goes back to looking at 100 deals. I did, and it took,
Yeah.
I don't know, 1,000 hours. And you can look at 100 deals tomorrow. You could stop this recording and look at 100 properties right now. And the more you look, the more you know. And then if when a deal comes along, it's not if, like if you stick at it.
Eventually, yes, exactly. I think that's it's like door knocking. Eventually, you're going to get someone to say yes,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
just a matter of statistics.
It's just
It's a matter of nine no's. You're going to get one who's going to go maybe or yes.
yeah.
So it's I think success. A lot of it comes down to statistics and persistence.
Mhm. Yeah. Do the thing and do it instead of I love Netflix, everyone. I am on Mad Men right now. I'm
Okay.
just gonna confess.
Yeah.
And I love
How
it.
much is Mad Men paying you to watch Mad
It is taking $26 a month out of my pocket because I have so many children and they all have accounts and they're all mooching off me.
Men?
But when I have to hustle and oh yeah, I'm still hustling. I love what I do, so I hope that I love what I do and I do it into my 80s like
Yes,
my dad.
yes.
Like my dad is 83 and he really slowed down when he was 78. Like because he gets a kick out of real estate and
Yeah,
he does.
yeah. I think once a hustler, always a hustler. You're always looking for a good deal, and
Yeah.
it's the excitement of just getting it. It's not a question of the money, but it's just attaching it.
Well, and I've got this other lady, you probably know Debbie Balfour.
Yeah.
She talks about this. I'm not telling her story. Go look her up and make friends with her because she's talk about a hustler. She lost her job.
I've heard of those stories as well, where people lost their
Yeah,
job and then it turned out to be a boon in disguise, where it opened up a different opportunity, and
yeah,
now they're far better off now because of that loss of job, or because of because being laid off or some sort.
exactly. She has time freedom. She gets to hang out with her adult sons, who she's
Mm,
madly in love with. We're all in love with our children. I
of
mean, let's
course.
be clear. Um, and she coaches people and she helps people and she's a little rock star.
That's
She's
cool. That's so
literally
cool.
little.
So
She's like
so
this big.
so
So yeah,
when is your the course you're providing now? When does it start, or how could people get involved in it?
it's I'll put the link around here. It's just online.
Cool.
So, but what you get with it is access to a whole online community and me. And so
That's important.
I come in once
That's
a week, once,
support.
twice a week for Q&A coaching.
That's beautiful.
And you have access to me. I'm not going to leave anybody high and dry if they've got a hot deal on their hands. Like, I'm
That's
not, I
that's
just
priceless.
heard about some coaching program where she had 5 sessions and then
That's
she's
it.
cut off. And it's like, you gotta be kidding me, man.
What? That's yeah, yeah. Support is very important, especially if you're just starting off. Support to
Yeah.
figure out exactly how to go about it, because you're not going to
Oh,
learn all of it, and every situation is going to be different, every deal or process. So, yeah,
yeah. I
that's
mean, so, yeah, I'll be clear. If
yep,
somebody's like rocking it and they need a ton of my time, I'm likely gonna try to upgrade them to my coaching.
yep.
Okay. That said, like we spent hours with Arlen. We never bought anything from Arlen.
Okay,
And but I like to still think we had a good symbiotic relationship.
yeah.
It's, he still answers the phone if I call.
He's
He's just a great
he's such a
guy.
great guy.
Yeah, he's a really great guy. And
Very
I
good guy.
also know that I've introduced him to some people that have ended up, being a good force in his life and created a great win-win. And I'm glad because he's like really generous. I like to think of myself as generous. And again, like I can't imagine, I just, I believe in support and there's
You
plenty to
give
go
it. You
around.
give support as much as you receive support. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well,
You know,
I mean, that's what the world is all about, you know?
yeah.
Just I've been so blessed. I want everybody to have what I have.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that you're born and raised in Denver. It's yeah, it's just like I'm like that's amazing. It's just, yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I've got so many questions on that, but so well, I mean, we'll round it off on the wholesaling course and the coaching that you provide, and I think that's
Oh,
beautiful.
well, that kind of went, I don't know. I feel like I should talk a little more. Are we running out of time?
Well, there's no producer holding me back and all that. Go for it. Yeah, what do you want to say?
Well, okay. We got into real estate in 2001, bought 35 houses, did extremely well. The market just skyrocketed in that time. We felt like geniuses. And I think that that's something that's happened in Ontario. Everybody
Oh,
feels like
yeah, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
feels has felt like a genius
Yeah, I mean,
because things,
2022, those who were selling were like, "Hey, man, I just cashed in you, John, it for sure." Everyone felt like a genius.
and
Everyone was missing out. No one else. FOBO was a big thing as well.
yeah. So now, so for me, we cashed in all our houses and we bought apartment buildings. And I told you
Awesome,
about how we turn over apartment building in a month and we were making
awesome.
millions of dollars, like literally I have $4.5 million net worth.
Neat.
So proud of myself. And I'm like early 30s. And during that, my husband and I had 5 children. So total. Okay. So I just want people to know that you can do big things and have a family. And we were rocking it, absolutely rocking
Yep.
it. And then we buy, okay, so instead of being smart and stopping, we rolled everything into buying 5 more properties,
Okay.
buildings,
Yep.
big buildings, 30 to 35 unit buildings in bad areas of Edmonton, thinking we were going to flip them again
Yes.
in
Okay.
the fall of 2007. And
Yeah.
it was like we hit a brick wall,
Okay.
because that's when the subprime started. And the first people to get affected were landowners and condo flippers like myself. And we just got destroyed. We spent 4 years fighting for this real estate investment portfolio and made it was a very tough decision, but we decided to enter bankruptcy protection. So
Okay.
I've been through bankruptcy.
Okay.
It's not, it is really not fun. And if you have a massive portfolio like that, there still may be a way to work through it. In fact, looking back, I'm confident we could have held on.
Okay.
Part of that 4 years of fighting was taking these buildings that were bought essentially with a credit card, very high interest rate, because we were gonna flip them,
Yeah.
having to hold on, and then going through each building and refinancing each individual unit with A lenders. So TD, CIBC, Bank of Montreal, ATB, Scotiabank. We just refinanced. We took 21% money, turned into 4% money. And during that time, I learned so much about financing because I basically did it all by myself. No mortgage broker could help me that I
Okay.
could find. But that said, I will credit Peter Kinch for giving me the idea to do that. We are sitting at Earl's Tin Palace in Edmonton on Jasper Avenue, and he's eating this salad that I still cannot order at Earl's because it was such a tough meeting. He said, I can't help you.
Oh,
Now,
just like that.
well, he took time with us. He looked at things.
Okay.
We're like, we'll buy him a salad and he'll help us. He just was, he told us what we needed to hear, which is, I'm sorry, I can't help you. This is like
This is bigger than
beyond,
yeah, this was
yeah, I
bigger.
don't think it'll be, if I help you, I don't think it'll be successful.
Okay.
And I appreciate his honesty. Also, he finishes his salad and then he says, now, one thing you could try is you could try to bundle these up 4 or 6 at a time and go to the big, because they were still credit card mode. And when he was eating the salad,
Yeah.
you could bundle these up and take them to the big 5 individually, and they might be able to help you.
Bundle the units or the buildings?
The units. So I'd take 6 units from one, but we had 5 buildings. I'd take 6
Yeah.
from one,
Yeah.
6 from another, 6 from another, and take them all to ATB.
Hmm.
And it worked. We refinanced 100 doors out of 105. And the only reason we were not able to refinance the 5 is because they were under 300 square foot studios. And despite that, we had a partnership dispute and a toxic situation.
Yeah.
Takes 2 to tango.
Of course. Of
3 to
course.
tango in this
Yeah.
case. My husband's best friend since he was 18 years old was our partner. And it
Ooh.
was heart-wrenching because my husband knew him longer than he knew me.
Yeah. Wow.
And it took my husband a lot of courage. So, again, I talk about spouses and things like that. And it's really the last thing you want to do in something like that is have a divorce. A
Not worth
partnership
it.
dispute is like a divorce without
Of
the
course. Of
ex.
course. Yeah,
Like
definitely.
that's what is true. Anyway, it took him a tremendous amount of courage to take to team up with me. It was tough. It was like, here's his friend, and his friend's saying one thing, and I'm saying another thing. And
Yeah.
my husband's like, I think you're right. I think we have to do this. And it was a really tough thing that we had to do. We had to tell you what we had to do because it might help somebody. We had to go to the bank and stop
Not payments?
access for anybody without
Oh, yeah.
3 signatures before we had a little more open situation,
Okay.
and it's just hemorrhaging money. So after all of this, we refinanced everything. We still had this partnership dispute. My husband is like, okay, we gotta team, we
So,
gotta be together on this.
so what
And
did you
it's
learn from
really
this
hard.
experience? I mean, that sounds, it's a quite amazing story because one believes that, by the time you get 35 houses, okay, you've learned enough, you're not going to have any challenges anymore. It's going to be a lot easier that way. Or you quit your job, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that? Because you were at a very high, you were at a very comfortable level. For me, for a lot of people, it would have been like, I'm fine, I'm moving on. But the growth part of it, and every time there's growth, there's always obviously discomfort. So what did you learn from that experience?
From just the whole thing,
Yeah,
I learned several things.
like with three things.
One is that, you can do really well with 5 houses,
Yeah.
3 houses, 2 houses. You can
Yeah,
just
yeah,
hang on, take as great a care of them as you can. 25 years, they're going to be paid off, and they're going to create very good cash flow for you for the rest of your life.
yeah,
Uh, I learned so much about financing. I'm really grateful for it. I'm really grateful because I can eyeball a deal and kind of understand the financing really fast. I also learned that I know that our portfolio could have been saved if we would have found a way to work together,
yep,
and instead we decided to fight.
yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes a fight can be a distraction, you know.
It's a
I
lot
even
of wasted energy on the fighting side of things, and it doesn't
Yep,
necessarily resolve anything. And it's
yeah.
unfortunate that it happens.
I think we could have also, we had investors, okay? We had all of our money, and about $1 million of investor money, of a mixture of people. I would have gone to all those people instead of carrying all the weight on my shoulders, and I'd gone to them and said, we need you to come into this situation, and we all need to find out how to make it work. Like, there were 12 of us. We could have teamed up and probably managed the buildings and kept a
Yeah.
better eye on things. Instead, we tried to protect them, and it ended up being worse. These are,
Okay. Yes. Yes.
I would have said, let's come up with a plan. Like, I would have asked them to be involved. So the reason I bring this up,
Yes.
okay, is right now there are people that have deals that are challenging in Ontario, and maybe you've got partners, and like, some people I've heard are just like, people are just
They're
giving up.
frustrated. They're frustrated to give
Well,
up.
they're frustrated, but also I've heard that there are people giving up, and
Yeah.
maybe you don't need to give up. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a way,
Yeah.
right?
I've
And
heard of situations where their motto is they're making lemonade out of lemons. Like, there's
good.
yeah, that they're making the best of the
Good.
situation and they're
Yeah.
learning from it and it's going to work out well. Sure, they may, in fact, one particular friend, he may lose on a certain deal that he did a couple of years ago, but
Yeah.
he'll be better off. And then there's some that he's keeping and he's learning and they're working together to buy the whole portfolio. I mean, it's a big thing, but I think you're better off learning from it and moving on with it and trying to work together.
Yeah. And finding a way to work together.
Yeah,
And there's always a way.
there is.
So I just encourage people to try to think outside the box. I talked to a gal recently. I just had 2 meetings with her, and she's like, "Oh, I'm kind of stressed about this," right? I had 2 meetings with her, and I think she feels a little better. Now she's kind of got a couple of options that she's looking at, and she has a way to hold on. She probably can hold on.
Yeah,
Um, and there's just a way to, there's always a way, as long as people can work together. And that was a big thing. And then another thing I learned is, I often wondered, why was this happening to me, you know?
okay.
And I discovered, and this might, um, I was on Glenn Sutherland's podcast. He's American Investing in Canada,
Yep,
or
yep.
no, opposite, Canadian Investing in America.
Yeah, he's Canadian investing in America. Yeah.
And it's I said, wait, there's a song. It's called When You're Going Through Hell, Keep on Going.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. Don't
And
build a house in hell. A lot of people do.
yeah, so keep going because you just it says you might get out before the devil knows you're there.
That's
And
a
for
good, well
me,
put. Exactly, well put.
yeah,
Because the analogy of building a house in when you're down, you then believe it's part of you, and it's like a coat. You put that victim coat on, and then you harp on it, and you're constantly revisiting in your head and going over and over it, not finding solutions. So you gotta just don't build a house in hell. Just take off and move on, learn from
yeah,
it, and just move on. It's a very important analogy.
because it's gonna pass.
It
Okay, it
will,
will pass.
like everything
This
else.
hell will pass. I
Yes,
promise you, because it
yes.
did for us. And then what we were able to do is, despite all of our challenges, we still had the real estate bug. Okay. So
Good.
this house that I am living in,
Yeah.
we bought, we decided to move from Alberta to Kelowna. And I knew we couldn't qualify for financing. I had a 420 credit score. Okay. It was bad.
What was it? 480?
420.
420? Wow.
When I went to HSBC, this beautiful woman with all this fancy jewelry on was helping me. And she said, I've actually never seen a credit score that low. I'm sorry, I can't believe I said that. And I'm like, oh, don't worry. I know it's really bad. I know there's some bad stuff on there. And I had to put $500 cash in a bank account to get a bank account at
That's
HSBC. And I had to
amazing.
keep $500
That's
in
an
that bank.
amazing story because a lot of people would have quit and been that's it, and then harped on that story as if it was part of what happened to them. But this happened for you
For me. Yeah,
to
it did.
learn and be better off, just mentally stronger, emotionally, and financially better.
Well, and we moved here and this house was in foreclosure. It had been vacant for 3 years. And I knew it was a foreclosure because I'd been through foreclosure.
Yes, yes.
And fortunately, I'm a salesperson, like really at the depths of my soul. I took the sales training forever ago and I just tried to perfect my sales skills as time has gone on. And I went to some friends and they bought me this house and I bought it back from them as a rent to own.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing story.
So if I can do that with kids and being an
Yes.
immigrant, I know I don't seem like an immigrant, but I am, and it had an influence on things. Um, and be a mom and be a wife and um,
So what kept you going with such hellish situation? What kept you going?
my kids,
Oh wow, yes, yes,
mama bear.
yes.
So part of
So
this,
showing them.
oh
I
gosh, my
mean,
kids are such good people. And I think that time has impacted each of them differently.
okay,
I'm sure it has. Yeah, and I see them desperate for independence.
okay,
And I watch them go through challenges with grace. And yeah, they struggle with some things. I'll give you an example. My son is living in Burnaby in the Lower Mainland,
okay.
and he worked really really hard and he saved a bunch of money. And so he wanted to go down there to work in film. There's a real booming film industry down there. And he has been working at it for a couple of years without a lot of success. And believe it or not, me being an entrepreneur, I've often wanted to say, I wish he would just get a job, you know?
But he's
That said,
persisting with it. That's amazing.
he's going through his savings, and I'm just like, well, he can always move home. I'm like, he'll be fine. He'll
Yeah,
be fine. So I actually changed the way I was talking and thinking. And saying my son he works in film and he's got jobs and he's doing well. And it took him, I'd say, good 18 months, and he started getting gigs, and he now works 2 to 3 times a week as a TV shows and movies.
that's awesome. And that's
And
exactly what he wants to do too. He pursued his passion. That's amazing.
yeah, And
That's
he
so
wants
cool.
freedom. He wants,
Yes.
if I'm going to get a job, I want enough freedom so I can act or so I can do movies. Right.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I think I might have taught him that. I think I might have.
That's
I hope
beautiful.
so.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing this. These were great stories. I mean, this was success stories, but also heart-wrenching stories and challenging stories. And that's exactly what we're after. That's exactly what we need,
Yeah.
inspiration. And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing all those stories with us. Where can people reach you and find you if they want to reach out? Because obviously you have you provide a lot of value to others.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. You do too, Renee, by just doing this. This takes work. I know it does. I have my own podcast. I'm going to have you on it soon.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
anytime.
we're going to figure that out. The best way is to Google my name. You'll probably find me, Julie Hoffman. And you can also find me at streetsmartdiva.com. And Renee, I'm gonna give you links of the of like how people can schedule with me, and
Sounds
I'll
good.
give you information about the wholesaling course. And oh, I want to make sure everybody gets for free, of course, my deal analyzer,
Sounds
because
good.
and also I'll send you the link for the motivated seller worksheet, because it really, you were asking me that before. I didn't go into huge depth about what to talk to a motivated seller about, but I have a free real estate investment tool. It's called the Motivated Seller Worksheet. It's got a video tutorial and it talks about motivated sellers, and it comes with a
That's
worksheet that you can
cool.
use every time you have a conversation
That's
with,
so cool.
yeah,
That's priceless. That is very valuable. That's
don't
lovely.
I?
I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank,
Thank you.
thank you so
Okay.
much for having me.
Well,
Thank you
thank
so
you
much. I
for taking
appreciate
the
it.
time. I mean, with 5 kids, that's your time is very precious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure talking with you, Julie, and I look forward to mutually connecting again on Zoom because we've never met face to face, but we will always meet through Zoom. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.